We all have that one friend, or maybe, if you're being truly honest with yourself, you're that friend who exists on the very edges of the digital world like a ghost in the machine. You have the accounts, you have the apps installed, and you might even spend a fair amount of time quietly observing the flow of information, but your own profile is a frozen time capsule, perhaps a single photo from 3 years ago or a completely empty grid. In an era where the modern world screams for constant attention and every single meal, sunset, or minor inconvenience is broadcasted for public review, choosing to stay silent feels like a radical, quiet act of rebellion. While the people around, you might label you as mysterious, aloof, or even antisocial. The reality happening behind the scenes of your brain is far more sophisticated than a simple lack of things to say. You aren't just being quiet. You're actively maintaining a psychological shield that protects your sense of self from what we call the mirror paradox. This is the exhausting, subconscious cycle of holding up your life to the world like a mirror, and waiting for a digital like or a heart to confirm that your experiences are actually valid, valuable, or even real. When we post, we're often shifting our locus of control outward, effectively giving strangers the power to tell us if we are happy, successful, or worthy. But the digital ghost operates from an intense internal locus of control. This means you don't need a digital thumbs up from someone you haven't spoken to in a decade to know that your morning coffee was perfect, that your walk in the park was refreshing, or that your personal milestones were significant. You were there, you felt it, and for your brain, that is enough. This choice to stop performing your life allows you to reclaim your private self from what psychologists call the audience effect. This phenomenon explains how, the moment we know we are being watched, even by a virtual audience, our behavior shifts. We become more performative, more filtered, and significantly more anxious. We start viewing our own lives through the eyes of others, wondering, how will this look? Rather than, how does this feel? By choosing not to post, you are effectively turning off those blinding spotlights and allowing your true personality to breathe without the pressure of a public gaze. There is a profound mental health advantage to this silence that rarely gets discussed: the death of social comparison fatigue. We've all heard that comparison is the thief of joy, but in the digital age, it's also a thief of energy. When you post, you're forced to engage in the hierarchy of the feed. But by opting out, you stop comparing your messy, unedited behind the scenes to everyone else's highly curated, filtered highlight reel. You realized, perhaps subconsciously, that the digital ego is a hungry ghost that can never be fully fed. Maintaining it requires a constant stream of content, a constant filtering of reality, and a constant checking of notifications that keeps your nervous system in a state of low-level fight or flight. The digital ghost, however, has mastered the joy of missing out, or JOMO. You found a way to find peace in the silence, realizing that being unattainable in an age of 24/7 accessibility is actually the ultimate luxury. Beyond the emotional benefits, there is a fascinating scientific edge to your silence regarding how you actually remember your life. A landmark study published in the journal Psychological Science suggests that the act of taking a photo specifically to share it can actually impair your memory retention. This happens because your brain offloads the work of encoding the memory to the camera lens. You weren't fully present in the moment because you were busy composing the frame for an audience. But because the digital ghost keeps the phone in their pocket, their brain encodes the experience in high definition. Your memories aren't diluted by the need for a filter. They're anchored in the smells, the sounds, and the raw emotions of the moment. You aren't just living. You are building a richer, more private internal library that belongs only to you. Furthermore, choosing not to post often reflects a high level of independent thinking. In a world dominated by digital tribes and viral trends, The person who stays silent is the one who isn't easily swayed by the crowd. You aren't seeking the dopamine hit that comes from a notification, which means you are less susceptible to the psychological manipulation built into these platforms. You've effectively opted out of a system designed to sell your attention to the highest bidder. In 2026, being untrackable isn't a sign of being lost. It's a sign of being found. It's a sign that you have realized that your life is a private narrative, a sacred story meant only for you and the people standing right in front of you in the physical world. There is a certain power in being the person people have to actually call or visit to know how they are doing. It creates a depth of relationship that a story update can never replicate. By not posting, you ensure that your social interactions are rooted in genuine curiosity rather than digital surveillance. You aren't giving away your energy for free to an algorithm. You are saving it for the people who actually matter. You've understood that your value isn't measured in reach or engagement, but in the quality of your presence. This is the ultimate high-value move, the realization that you are the protagonist of a life that doesn't need a broadcast license to be extraordinary.so. The next time someone asks you why you're so quiet online or why you don't share more of your world, just smile. You haven't disappeared. You've just moved behind the scenes where the real work of living happens. You've realized that the most beautiful parts of the human experience are the ones that can't be captured in a 4:5 aspect ratio or explained in a caption. You are a digital ghost because you have become too big for the screen. You are busy, living a life that is so fulfilling. You simply forgot to tell the internet about it. I'm genuinely curious to hear from the quiet ones today. What was the specific moment or the sudden realization that made you put the phone down and decide that your life was no longer for public consumption? Was it a slow fade, or did you have a breaking point where the noise just became too much? Let's talk about it in the comments. I want this to be a safe space for the silent majority to finally speak up. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm honored that you've chosen to spend a part of your private time here with me. Let's keep figuring out the behind the scenes of our minds together. I'll see you in the next one.